great.
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Success Weekly. I'm James Sarris, your host. Got a very special guest online with me, and this is a special edition. So this is our second podcast for the week following the Hurricane Irma episode that we dealt with down here. And so I guess we should start out by asking, did you guys feel any of the effects of that?
We did. Luckily, we were just experiencing the cool front that pushed Irma and kept it and took its head off, so it wasn't strong when it hit you guys. We didn't get any rain or anything.
Oh, that's
great.
We
did go through Katrina, so
yes.
No one was praying more for you guys there in Florida than the people of Louisiana, because if that thing would have hit like a 4 or 5, like Katrina did here, you guys would have been, we're just very happy that it turned away and weakened.
Well, I've been telling all of my friends and family that I think that those prayers are probably what saved us, honestly. You know, I don't think people realize that when they do give those prayers and things, that there's power behind that, you know, and if you get enough people to do it, it can work, you know, it's effective.
It's a lot of intention, a lot of energy. Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that intention and energy as we embark on our success journey today. So let's begin by having you tell everybody a little bit about your background, who you are, where you came from. Obviously, you're in the martial arts, how you got to that point, and we'll take it from there.
Well, my name's Mike Storms, and I live about an hour north of New Orleans in a town called Mandeville, Louisiana, and that's where my main school is. I started martial arts when I was 14 years old in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, where I grew up in North Jersey. And then when I went in the Marines, I got very, very heavy into the martial arts. I had the good fortune of, I still have the same instructor that I've had for 34 years, and was able to assist him when he was the martial arts coach for the San Diego Chargers. And now I've been coaching in the NFL since 1991 for 26 years. Chargers, Saints, Dolphins, and a dozen Division I big college programs. So the martial arts for me, I started it because I needed help with football, because I was a football player, athlete growing up. And then full circle, I'm able to coach in the NFL and then Division I with what I learned from the martial arts. But, you know, I started in a little basement dojo of a barbershop in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. And then my instructor's dojo had a dozen people outside the gates of Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California. So I was never in a professional dojo my whole life. So when I opened my school 32 years ago, it was in, you know, at nighttime at a ballet school. 3 days a week. I had 15, 20 students, was bouncing in bars in New Orleans. They'll pay the rent at the school. And I was going to college at the time and fresh out of the Marines. And then I was invited to a June Rhee business seminar in 1987 at Brian Duffy's Kempo School in Austin, Texas. And then I learned about attendance systems and some marketing and offers. And I mean, I didn't have memberships. So that was my first foray in the late 80s on how to do it, or it would be a reasonable business. And I, pushed the school up to 65, 75 students. But back then, in the late 80s, having 75, 80 students was kind of a big deal. And going from 20 students to that was a huge deal for me, because I didn't have to bounce on the weekends anymore to pay my rent at my dojo. And I was able to get an apartment, and things started to get better. But that kind of skimmed along and struggled like everybody did. So I still wanted to go hardcore tournament fighting. And we trained very, very hard at my instructor dojo, Jim Advincula's dojo, Sensei Advincula in California. So I had to understand what the market wanted, which was the character elements of martial arts, which meant a great deal to me as a martial artist and an instructor, with my self-discipline and my own confidence and my own structuring my schedule to do well. And then I got connected with Keith Hafner and learned a ton about marketing, and Dan Kennedy and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy. And it was somewhere around 94, 95, 6 or 7 years after I'd learned a little bit how to go professional. I had a school in Hammond, Louisiana, Amite, Louisiana, and then I opened a third school in Mandeville, Louisiana. And then that's when my martial arts professional career really took off and did really well. Where we went from 75, 85 students at one school to 100 students at one school, 100 students at another school, and 150 at the third school. And that's when I started my entrepreneurial, where I started coaching people and helping other people with martial arts schools as well as any service businesses, because it's all the same thing. Get new members, keep the members active and paying, get them to refer, and maximize your net profit, and don't hire too much staff or waste money on advertising, and to do it professionally. And then I decided to sell my 2 other schools to one of my black belts. They're still open, and focus on our headquarters school. And we were able to push that school up. We kind of bounce an average in that 240 to 275 active student range. And our gross bounces between 40 and 50 grand a month, depending on whether we have summer camps or holiday camps or special things going on in a town of under 12,000 people.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right. And we got a great team. We have great families that are really committed to their kids' personal development and growth. So that's kind of a Reader's Digest version. Had a lot of hiccups along the way, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot of lessons, particularly about hiring and training an all-star team, taking good care of them, and proper, sustainable, long-term business practices. Yeah.
So you made a couple of comments in there that I want to kind of piggyback off of. And so let me ask you about, you mentioned that your success, kind of began when you got like 100 students here, 100 students there, and you had 75 students here, and then you started helping others. So what do you think? Do you think that the process of you working with others and helping others actually taught you some things as well and made you better?
Oh, yeah, 1,000,000%. Every time I talk to, right now I'm coaching about 20 entrepreneurs, business owners, 14 of which are martial arts school owners. The other 6 are in different service businesses. And I'm just opening up the coaching. I'm going to have another 10 spots I'm opening up in October. And so every time I talk to, like James, I talk to you,
Yes.
a couple times a month, I always learn something from you.
Yes.
So, but also for me, when someone asks me a question and then I'm reintroducing in the front of my mind a system, a process, or a script, I immediately go back in and take that and reintroduce it to my team training that week.
Yes.
So just like when you teach martial arts, if someone then becomes an instructor, an assistant instructor, and they have to go revisit the stuff and then communicate it effectively so people can understand it and use it, your understanding of it goes to a completely different level, as does your mastery and your ability to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it was Zig Ziglar. You mentioned him. I think it was him that said, and I use this in my school frequently, and that's when one teaches, 2 learn. So
Sure.
yeah,
100%.
so learn, having the you don't have to have, I guess I'll say it for you and then you can reconfigure it, but you don't have to be like this ultra successful person to start helping other people. You just want to get a little bit ahead of them and then start helping them with whatever you can. And in the process, you gain a lot of wisdom and knowledge and skills that you otherwise wouldn't have. Yes?
Right. So life is a ladder, right? So we're all on a ladder. So say I'm on rung 70 in my personal, professional, vocational, spiritual, emotional, mental, financial success life. I'm 53 years old, learned a lot, have great mentors, great teachers, great coaches still. So as I'm on 70, anybody, even somebody at 65, 60 or 55, I can reach down the ladder, grab their hand, accelerate their steps up the ladder with the mistakes I've made, the information I have, the knowledge I have, to speed and increase their growth curve, which is really what mentoring, teaching, being a sensei, being a master, or being a coach is. It's taken my NFL players, my 10-year-old students, my teen students, my adult students, my small business coaches, my entrepreneurs, and accelerating their growth curve by giving them information they need and by shortening their learning process and telling them what landmines to step over and avoid.
Yeah, that's great. And let's now move forward. You talked about, what kind of revenue your school generates. And I think people that are watching this, some of them are obviously martial artists, but some of them are not. And they hear numbers like $40,000 to $50,000 per month that your school brings in. And I think they get this inflated idea of what that really means because they don't realize when you're running a business that you also have overhead. You have advertising, you've got, your rent on your building, you've got insurance and all these other expenses. And people think, wow, this guy must be like rolling in the dough if he's making that kind of money per month. So tell us more about the reality of what that all means.
Well, typically for what I would consider an A-rated martial arts program, you should be functioning at a minimum of a 20% net profit once you've been in business for 18 to 36 months, depending on your part of the country. Like where we are, the rents are very, very high because we're in a very high per capita income kind of growing community. But I made the decision with one of my business mentors pushing me and poking me in the back, and I bought a piece of land and built a building 18 years ago. So my building would cost me $8,000 a month, but my mortgage is only $3,400 a month, and it stays $3,400 a month for 20 years. So because we've been in business a long time, because I've learned how to do a lot of things, again, with constant daily studying, reading about marketing, best practices for business, we kind of bounce between about a 24 and 35% net profit.
Which is fantastic, yeah.
It is, but it's because we've been able to manage our expenses over the long haul and learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of shift over into just general success principles. So if you had to like nail it down to, let's say, the top 3 things that somebody would need to do if they want to get themselves from where they're at to the next level in whatever, whether it be martial arts training, they want to go from brown belt to black belt, or they want to go from losing in tournaments to placing first and grand champion, or they want to open their own school and make that successful. What would be like the top 3 things you would recommend to any of those kind of people?
Well, those are a few. Let me deal with those like in compartments. So number 1, nothing gets better until we do, right? I'm a person of faith, and one of my favorite scriptures is, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Okay, so every problem you have in your life, relational, emotional, spiritual, mental, financial, vocational, it's because there's things you don't know that are blocking your progress and your growth and success. So the first step, wherever you want to be in your life, is you have to become a master of your own self-education. Meaning that every day you have to set aside 20 or 30 minutes where you're reading, you're journaling, you're highlighting, and you're filling your mind with fresh water. I talk to people about finances all the time because I'm a budget coach and I help people with their finances and their small businesses and personal as well. And people are like, I'm just no good with money, Mike. And I'm like, well, how many books have you read on money? 0. And I'm like, how in the Sam Hill do you think you're going to be okay with money if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to budget, if you don't create an income statement or a balance sheet? So financial knowledge for people that say, oh, I don't know what to eat healthy. Have you ever read a book on healthy eating? No. So go and get the knowledge that you need, and then get a coach or a mentor, either locally. Sometimes it's better if they're far away because you don't feel like you have to maintain a certain image for them. Like my clients that I have that are phone clients tell me everything. But the clients that I have that are in my own town are a little bit, takes a longer to get closer to them.
Sure.
They're afraid that they're going to be found out.
Right.
Guess what, everybody? We're all a mess. We all need help and coaches.
Yes,
you just
amen.
don't know that everyone else is a mess. So you know
Right.
what? We all need help.
Yes.
We all need coaches. Now, when you talk about opening a dojo or opening a school or any business, a coffee shop, I would say spend 3 times as much time on information gathering and planning than you think you need to.
Yes.
Demographics, cost of doing business, hiring and training staff. I mean, the number 1 reason businesses fail is undercapitalization. The second reason is terrible planning, a poor launch, and not having a marketing plan in place. And then the third reason is not knowing how to hire or train good staff.
Yes, and that's always.
So I'd say get good at all that stuff.
Well, great. Well, fantastic. So any other maybe some keys to success that are less talked about that are important? Do you have any idea of something you could offer in that realm?
Well, I'd say three things that they're talked about, but I think people just don't get it. You will become the average of all the people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. My father used to say, you lay down with dogs, you're going to catch fleas. If you have toxic people in your family, toxic people in your inner circle, or people around you that are holding you back, you need to push them out of your life quietly. Stop returning their phone calls, stop calling them, stop hanging out with them and drinking and partying, and focus on who you want to become. So number one is your inner circle. Watch out who those people are. Get better people. But I've been friends 20 years, and they're going to complain, what, are you too good for me now? No, I'm just growing. You're welcome to come with me. But you got to get different people around you to grow, and the people around you that want to grow will stay with you. So watch the law of the inner circle. Number two, I would say you got to own your mornings. You got to own your evenings. Turn off the television, read books, have dinner with your family at the table, connect with things that are important to you. So master your schedule. So number one is law of inner circle. Number two is master your schedule and routine. Number three, I would say, is that your self-education and personal education is so important. It has to go first on your list when you make your daily routine. Number four is you were meant to be a winner. God has a great plan for your life. You're way more capable than you think you are. But it's going to take hard work and tons of patience. Anyone who says it's not going to be hard work and you're not going to be disappointed and need to persevere and it's going to take twice as long as you think is selling you a line of doo-doo. You know, I didn't get wealthy from my small business and from my investments till I'd been doing it incorrectly, correctly, incorrectly, correctly for about 12 to 13 years. Now, luckily, there's more coaches, there's more mentors, there's more industry information of a higher quality. There's more information in the industry of the same or lower quality as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have to be discerning of who you listen. I wouldn't listen to anybody that didn't have a business. I will always, and I have some investments that are doing fantastic right now. I will always own a small business because I want to know what the market, I want the pulse of the market, of the hiring and firing and training and HR and marketing and social media and the trends. I want to be part of that because how can I tell someone else what's going on with them and really get it unless I'm still going through it?
Absolutely. So how do you discern between good information and bad information? I mean, there's so many things out there, and everybody has. It's kind of like they all say the same things. So how do you tell?
Proof.
Okay.
Right? If I'm telling people, like I tell you guys, the dear people that I have the blessing and fortune to talk to a couple of times a month, I say, you guys go look at my Facebook feed. Am I doing what I'm asking you to do?
Yes, absolutely.
Is my team doing what I'm asking you to do?
Yes.
And am I getting the results? Because I post my results in our private groups and let people know what's going on with me. So I would say there's got to be proof because someone can't tell you what to do, in my opinion, if they've never done it. That's why I'm not a big fan of college education.
Right.
Unless you're going to be an architect or a nurse and got to have the degree, you can learn everything you need to learn from seminars, coaches, and YouTube.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
But make sure the person on YouTube is Gary Vaynerchuk, who took a $3 million company to a $60 million company.
Yeah, just make sure you keep the volume off or keep it in your headphones for a little while.
Right, right, with your kids around. Yeah, because if you don't like hearing the F word, you're going to get turned off.
Yes.
I'm from Jersey. It doesn't bother me, right? But, you know, I would say there has to be proof and there has to be sustainability. Flash in the pan people, you know, and then just ask your wife. My wife can see through bullshit so much quicker than I can.
Sure.
He's like, Michael, I don't trust that guy. He's
Yeah.
always right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. My wife's the same way. That's why I think they would call it women's intuition, and there's so much truth to it. You know, they listen to their gut, and whereas as men, we're big, rough, and tough, and it's no problem, and I'll handle it. And you know, it's not until we fall down that we go, honey, you were right.
Testosterone is a blockade for serotonin. And
yes.
Serotonin is a big part of intuition.
Yes. Well, that's funny you should say that, because my wife will send me to go find something, and she'll say, well, go get this. And I'll go and I'll look everywhere. And I mean, I am really honestly searching for it and looking. I'm not just like glancing. I am looking at every little piece, and somehow it's invisible to me. And I'll go back to her and says, where is it? I can't find it. And she walks right back to it and says, right here. And I'm thinking, I just looked there. And she always says, that's your testosterone blocking your vision. I mean, that's exactly what she says. And it's so true.
I'll still keep my testosterone, though. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. So, wow, I had another thought there, but I totally lost it there thinking. Oh, you know what I was thinking? I'm a guy that likes to connect the dots. And in fact, Jimmy Mack, you know Jimmy Mack?
Sure.
He's given me the moniker. He calls me Jimmy Dots, because that's what I do all day long, is connect dots with everything. And so one of my, I guess, talents, if you want to call it that, is being able to look at somebody and say, you know, you look like this person. I always thought that if I wasn't a martial arts person, I could be a wonderful Hollywood casting director, because I could find the right people for the parts and things. And so I'm constantly looking at people and saying, man, that guy reminds me of somebody. That guy sounds like somebody. And you just burst my bubble there a moment ago when you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, because I've been thinking, man, Mike's voice, this little raspy sounding voice, he sounds like somebody I know. And that's who it is. Your voice has the same quality to it, the tonality and whatnot of Gary V.
Well, yeah, we grew up in the same area in New Jersey.
No, it's not just the accent. It's the tonality and the raspiness and just the quality and the tone of your voice. You sound like Gary V. If you were to put his voice on and yours on, you guys would sound very, very similar. So
I gargle with razor blades every morning.
Is that what well, that's got to be a Marine thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Well, I greatly appreciate your taking the time with us today. And, you know, I've learned some fantastic things from you, and a lot of things it's always great to be reminded, even things that you may have known one time. There's a limit to how much we can keep in the forefront. And sometimes it has to get stirred back up again for it to come back to the top of the pile. And you've done that for me today.
Well, James, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Your energy, the way you care about your growth and the people's growth around you, and you're always positive, you're always moving forward, and just fantastic. Glad we're friends. Happy to do this. I apologize for my delay.
Oh, that's okay.
With being ready to go on the call, I had to download the app and stuff. But if anyone has any questions, just James and I'll answer them. Just post them below, and I'd be happy to help out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much. And for our listeners and watchers, be sure to like and share this post with others that might benefit from it. And if you have, like Mike said, if you have any questions or comments, or maybe something one of us said, and usually it's me, that you disagree with, please put that in there as well, and let's discuss it further. So until next week, this is James Theris and Mike Storms saying, be successful.
Thanks, James.